Hey, friends. Well, it seems like my post is becoming an awful lot about literary analysis or ideas evoked by recent reading that Robin has done. And I guess I just can't help it when I start to ingest information and ideas. That tends to be what's top of mind. But in keeping with that, I have continued to listen to this new unreleased audiobook called A Scandal of God by Alan Jones. And I'm really kind of moved by it. It has some really, at its heart, I mean, I described this yesterday. It's basically a call to delegitimize and disempower fundamentalism in whatever form, whether we're talking about religious fundamentalism, which is obviously sort of like the most obvious and prevalent, but scientistic, materialistic fundamentalism, the term applies equally well to that arena, and to the kind of notion that the narratives of science are the really, really objectively true ones, while the narratives of religion or spirituality are just stories, just made up narratives. The book I just completed, obliterates that argument and essentially reveals to us that narrative is the foundation of all of our meaning. We can't make sense of scientific data unless we have a narrative within which to put it. And Ken Wilber, one of my favorite philosophers, has been saying this for years, decades. He compiled a set of writings on mysticism by the great physicists of the 20th century. And he writes an introduction to the book in which he says, what does it tell us that every single great physicist of the century was profoundly mystical and also wrote on mystical subjects? What does that tell us about the relationship between science and religion? And so I think the book that I'm reading now is really a look at not the debate between science and religion, but the debate between fundamentalism and a worldview that is more open, that's willing to listen, that's willing to engage. That was me turning off Annalise's monitor. That's willing to engage in a conversation, and that is willing to know that all narratives are to some extent invented. All narratives are to some extent metaphors, even science. Because the foundations of science, the foundations of scientific observation, as we get to the limits of what we are able to know scientifically, we encounter this fuzzy domain where we truly can't know. What we have done a really good job of with science as a human race is to map what we can know and to establish sets of principles, theorems, proofs, hypothetically and experientially verifiable experiments to describe the universe and to tell us how it works, how what we do know, how within what we do know things work. But the fact is, at the end of all of that, you are still working with a set of unknown and potentially unknowable, kind of shading into infinity, shading into the unknown foundations. The foundations of science are not these are not pillars that are anchored deep in the earth. It's like it fades out. Like if science was a soundtrack, at the end it would just have a long fade out. Quieter. Like those Stevie Wonder songs. They couldn't figure out how to end it, and they just go on. That's what science ultimately, that's where it lands. And that's fascinating, and that's amazing, and that's in my book, in my sense of things, that is a wonderful common denominator that science and religion share. They both shade into the unknowable. Isn't that great? I mean, doesn't that create the basis for the kind of dialogue that could be really fruitful? Because if science is the search and the discovery of how things work, this is what Alan says at the beginning of his book, then religion or spirituality, whatever we want to, if the word religion is too loaded for you, don't use it. Use whatever word you like. But whatever that dimension is, is the science of what things mean. And I think it's not wrong to call it a science. It's an experiential and kind of verifiable mapping of human meaning. That's why the narratives, as the book that I completed a couple weeks ago, the narratives we use, the narratives that have animated kind of human meaning making for millennia are vastly more similar than they are different. They're almost like they have the same blueprint, and they're just building the same building with different materials in different localities. It's a little more sunny over here, so you put a different kind of roof on it. It gets really cold over here, so you put different kinds of insulation on it. But it's like the same blueprint being used to create the story. So what we start to see is a kind of a map of humanity, a map of human meaning. And what I came to this post just now thinking I wanted to talk about is one of the distinctions that Alan makes towards the middle maybe of chapter 2 about how we're not talking about faith as certainty. We're talking about faith as risk. And faith, oh, look at this. You want to come on screen? You want to come in the video post for a minute? Okay. This is a little girl who's refusing to nap. It was not the plan for her to be awake right now, was it? No. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. And I just loved that description of faith as risk. Because, faith as certainty has this character that we know from kind of fundamentalism. It's the thing that makes it's the thing that when someone says faith, like if someone walks up to you on the street and says, "Do you have faith?" We immediately want to go, "No, I don't want, I'm not, what are you selling?" It's almost like a dirty word, right? Because we have we have a lot of experience of faith as certainty, and it has turned us off to the word. It's turned us off to the notion of faith, because it sounds to us like I'm going to believe something that I have no way of verifying, and I'm going to believe it whether or not you can prove me wrong, and I'm going to go around trying to make sure everybody else believes it too. That's faith as certainty. Faith as risk means I admit that I cannot know beyond this point. It is apparent to me that I cannot know beyond. Maybe I can know this and this and this and this and this, but at some point I begin to shade into the unknowable. Knowledge begins to shade into the unknowable, whether it's mystical knowledge or scientific knowledge. And so faith as risk, that's why what I love about that is it's like it contains the meaning of the leap of faith. The kind of cliche about faith, the leap of faith, is contained in the notion of risk. Because what makes it a leap of faith? The fact that you're going to go do something and you don't know what is going to catch you. Well, the leap of faith is a leap off of something into something that we don't know where it's actually leading. Yes, little non-napping girl. Non-napping girl. Anyway, so this beautiful description of faith as risk as opposed to faith as certainty, and I think that's a sort of like succinct nugget of it's an encapsulation of something in a succinct little nugget that I think like I'm going to start that's going to be what I get evangelical about, is treating faith in that way. Because I'm kidding, not really, but I'm saying it feels like a way of acknowledging I suppose what I'm always on the lookout for is how, if it's important to the human race that our conversations get better, that we become more capable of talking about things, if we want to solve these problems, then how do we divide? Then the definition of our terms and how we define what we're talking about. It's really hard to construct logic, good thought sequences. But this one, not sleeping, not sleeping, not sleeping. Anyway, you want to say anything to the video post? What do you want to say?
I forgot.
You forgot.
Oh yeah, I know. When is it going to be Halloween?
When's it going to be Halloween? It's going to be Halloween a week from Monday.
Now I was saying the video post.
9 days.
I was saying the video post that.
Oh, okay, great. You didn't actually want an answer. There you go. All right. Well, let's say bye-bye, hon. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. Much love. All right. Bye. You going to say bye-bye? You're not going to say bye-bye? All right. Well, you got to let me reach in. I can't reach with you like this. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.